All right.
That thing. There you go. Go away. Yeah, little like. How do I get rid of that thing on the screen? Got it. We're on.
Here we are.
God damn, Christian. Thank you so much, mate, for hanging out with. I would usually say with us, but it's just me today. Just Johnny. Nate's actually over in the States on his little work trip. So thanks
All
for hanging
good.
out. Yeah. You
Thanks for
could have
having me.
told me, dude, my absolute pleasure. You could have told me that you were going to be so well presented. I would have tried to match the vibe a little bit.
You look
Um,
great. You look
thank,
great.
thank you. Thank you. It's the lighting, I think, that does it. Dude, I got to say though, before we get started, I want to blow a little bit of smoke up your butt. Um, I have loved you guys for the longest time now, so this is an absolute pleasure to have you on. ANBERLIN for me have always been such a staple in my music catalog. You know, I feel like you guys are one of very few bands that I could go to at any point in my day, any point in my week, any point in my life. And it's been that way since I first heard you guys. When someone first showed me Ready Fuels when I was studying music technical production, and I was just like, man, what the fuck is this? This is riffs. It's beautiful vocals. So I just want to say thank you for just creating such an incredible catalog of music.
Oh man, thank you. Thank you for the kind words. And man, yeah, from the beginning, it sounds like so we appreciate it.
Yeah, dude, just absolutely incredible catalog. One of the things that I love about Amberlin is the ability to have such contrasting moments throughout, so many different vibes, but it never sounds disjointed. You know what I mean? Like you've got the light, you've got the dark, the happy, the sad, the heavy, the soft, but it all sort of transitions into each other really seamlessly. Do you guys think that has that always been a conscious thing for you? And do you think that that's part of the reason that you guys have had such longevity and such success?
You know, it's funny you mentioned that because we were talking about it just recently because we just finished a couple new songs that are unreleased. We're about to release a new one here in the next month or so. But yeah, I mean, it's like when you look at our career, it can be kind of like chameleon-esque. If, like you're saying, it's like we could go super heavy, we can go super light, we could be electronic. I think, you know, the fact that Steven had such a unique voice kind of helped us be able to kind of, I think, do whatever we wanted to do. And it never really like, it always just kind of blended everything together seamlessly because you had just this like the super unique voice over whatever we were doing. So it's been cool because we've, you know, obviously over 20 years, your taste change and the kind of music you write change, the kind of music you listen to change. And we've really, I feel like, had the ability to, you know, grow as artists and as songwriters without completely like alienating our sound and just kind of like incorporating and encompassing all these new influences into what Amberlin is. And it doesn't like, it all still kind of makes sense, you know. So I've been grateful for that. Um, you know, for the riffier stuff, if you had like someone with more of like a Yarly voice, I think Amberlin could almost be borderline butt rock, you know, Creed or something like that. You know what I'm saying? But you know, or
Hey,
even some of the
they
lower
they
stuff.
got a lot
Yeah,
of fans, man. They got a lot of fans, and
not
like
to
even
knock
band,
them.
it's come around, man. Creed and Nickelback, I feel like they've got like now a new sense of everyone going, you know what? They had jams. I listened to them, and they all actually admit it
Yeah,
now.
for sure. Yeah, I'm not knocking on the sound. I'm just saying it because is Steven. It doesn't sound like that. You know what I mean? It's kind of separated us into just our own unique thing, which can be good and bad because I feel like sometimes we've been in no man's land because we kind of just like don't. It's hard to kind of like pigeonhole us, if you will, or put us in a
Yeah.
certain box because we just kind of like have our feet in a lot of different boxes. So it's like, what am I listening to? What kind of band is this?
I found that with bands like you guys and other bands that are sort of for me the same. You know, bands like Thrice and Taking Back Sunday, who it's like you listen to and it's like, man, this is like some of the best rock you will ever hear. Why isn't it up there with the Foo Fighters and bands like that? You know, why hasn't it
Right.
reached that that sort of stratosphere, I guess. And maybe that's it. Maybe it's that sort of the hard to pigeonhole thing. But I also think that's what makes those bands, yourself included, so special, and gives fans a real reason to not only connect with your music, but follow you, like actually follow your journey and follow your transformation.
For sure. I mean, we're grateful for everything we've been able to do, and for everyone that's found us and kind of stuck through all the different iterations and kind of sounds that we have, you know. So it's been a great journey so far.
And you mentioned Steven's iconic voice.
For
Let's
sure.
get to the elephant in the room. The
Okay.
announcement that friend of the channel, Mr. Matty Mullins, is going to be
Hmm.
joining you guys for touring for the foreseeable future.
Yeah. Yeah. It's crazy. I mean, I don't even know where to begin. Like, you would have to go back a little bit in time of, like, you know, we broke up for 5 years, and we reformed in 2019 with kind of the mindset of, like, if we can just do things on our own terms when we want to do them because we want to do them, then let's do it. You know, I think what the reason we broke up in 2014 was just we gotten older, started having families. It was just more difficult to try and be on the road all the time, especially after doing it since the early 2000s. So some of the guys were like, I kind of want to see what my life looks like, not having this always on my plate, right?
Mm.
So 2019, we were able to tour. We came over to Australia. It was great. We did a US tour, and we kind of had a plan to, like, okay, that was great. Let's do that every year. Let's just tour a handful of months and kind of when that fits with our schedules. And then COVID hit, right? So a couple of years of COVID, we did the best we could doing live streams and whatnot, but we weren't touring for a couple of years, right? And that kind of gets people into different life circumstances, different job circumstances. So the past couple of years since COVID ended, it's just been really hard to relaunch, if you will. And a lot of that's come from Steven's own just constraints between his family. He's got 3 daughters now, and he's super involved in his work and in his community. He works at a church here in Tampa, and the past couple of years have just been very difficult to try and do any sort of touring, which is what you kind of need to do to keep the lights on as a business,
Mm.
you know,
Yeah.
in this day and age as a band. So he called me earlier last year and was basically like, hey man, like, what would you think about touring with another singer? And I was like, what do you mean? And he was basically just saying what I just said was, hey, it's just been exceedingly difficult for him to dedicate any amount of time to touring, and he knows that that's kind of been a hurdle for us to get over and kind of hamstrung us as far as the business goes. So he was like, you know, I wanted to come with just a solution and not a problem. So he's like, I preemptively reached out to a handful of people, and he's like, Matty Mullins is fully in. He wants to do it. I let him know what was going on, and I was like, okay, well. And at the time, I was like trying to imagine what that would be like. I love Matty. He's a good friend, but it's still just a big, I think, mental thing to wrap your head around. Like, what do you mean like, it's just an unprecedented thing, if you will. It's not
Yeah.
like, it hasn't, it's uncommon. So I reached out to the rest of the dudes. I think the initial feeling was like, wow, I don't really know how we're going to pull that off. And then the more we sat with it, and the more we thought about it, and the more we talked about it, this was like this started earlier last year. So there were a lot of conversations that happened between full band, the rest of the four of us, one-on-one conversations with Matty, group conversations with Matty, group conversations with Steven and Matty. So I think we finally landed on, like, you know what, let's give it a shot. You know what I mean? Because I think we ultimately were like, if we don't do that, then we just kind of go away again.
Yeah,
You know,
it's either this or nothing.
Steven's, yeah, because it's like we couldn't keep going the way we were going. You know, we only played a handful of shows this year, and it's like that's not enough to keep the business, like I said, the business going. So
Yeah.
we kind of looked at, like, there's two options here. You either kind of wrap things up again, or you say, you know, let's see how it goes. So we're seeing how it goes, and we got a plan, and it's dialed in. We've already recorded a couple songs with Matty and Steven. So yeah, we're
Oh,
excited.
so
It's crazy.
Matty's actually going to be doing some like recorded songs with you guys as well.
He is, yeah. And
Yeah.
we're writing the script as we go. You know, there was kind of an idea, like a loose idea of, like, what the next however long looks like. But it's at the same time, it's like we've never really done anything like this. So it was kind of just like, let's just start putting one foot in front of the other and seeing what we can produce and what comes out of that. So even the, you know, the near future is still a giant question mark, but I feel like everyone's super optimistic. And like I said, it was like saying no only really led to one option, which was kind of wrapping things up or winding things down. Who knows? And maybe we could get back together. But saying yes, it's like that opens so many doors. You never know what can transpire. You know, you never know how this is all going to pan out. You never know if Steven's schedule might open back up in a year or a year and a half, 2 years. I don't know, but this keeps things moving forward to even give us that ability rather than just going like, okay, well, we're going to, once again, to do that to our fans in like a 5-year span would be not cool. You know, hey, we're back, we're gone. And then, oh, we're back. And oh, shoot, we're gone again. You know, it's just kind of like, holy smokes, what a freaking whirlwind roller coaster to ask people. And even still, it's a big ask, I think, from the fans. But I mean, we're excited.
Dude, like I gotta say, that's one thing that really did impress me, you know, not only from you guys sort of taking this step and doing something that I don't think anyone's really done this before on this scale, you know, and announcing it and saying this is the reason and being so transparent about it and being so honest about it. But the other thing is I'm really impressed with how positive the response has been from fans and things on socials. Like, it's so fucking sick to see people go, "Oh, no way, I love Matty. This is going to be cool." I've not seen any, "Oh, well, that's the end of the band," or any of those knee-jerk responses. And I think it shows that people are starting to realize, and even you guys are acknowledging that no band is the sum of one of its members. You know what I mean? No matter how incredible or individual they are. And man, I'm fucking excited for it. I'm really excited to hear it. And I love Steven's vocals.
Yeah, it's great, man. I mean, we're excited as well. I mean, like you said, it's like there aren't a lot of there are examples of bands parting ways with their singer and getting new people, and that does happen. This was unique in that, like, Steven's not, he's just stepping away from touring because he's basically like, I can't tour and I don't know when I'll be able to tour. So he's still going to be in, we're still very much friends. There's no like animosity. There's nothing crazy going on other than just like, okay, well, how can we move forward in this situation, considering the circumstances and the constraints we have? So it's kind of like, we're all still pumped. Steven's pumped. You know, Matty's pumped. We're trying to find this blend of like, you know, we're doing these shows in December. That's going to be both singers there. You know, Steven's obviously going to be doing most of the set, but we'll have Matty come out. Maybe we'll do some duets. You know, it's like we're like I said, we're right. We're just kind of doing whatever feels right at the moment. And I agree with you. The response has been super positive. We had an opportunity to play a show with Matty this year. We toured with Yellow Card, and Steven couldn't play the first show. And even at the time, we knew this was all in motion at the moment.
Yeah.
And I reached out to Matty and was like, yo, this is a little, you know, earlier than I thought, but can you come out and do the show? So he did last minute. He came out and he freaking killed it. We didn't rehearse anything.
Wow.
You know, he just showed up prepared, and we played the show in Dallas, and it absolutely crushed. And people's reactions were like super optimistic, like super great and super positive. And we were like, okay, all right. This was like a good little, you know, litmus test as to what, you know, some people were confused, but as a whole, people were like, oh, wow, I'd love to see that. That's really cool. So we were like, it was very encouraging for us.
I think again, like, you know, as well with that whole thing, that the transparency and the honesty of you guys kind of, when you take that speculation about, oh, you know, this happened or they've fallen out, I think that helps a lot as well, because people don't feel the need to go and make up their own bullshit and their own narrative and stories. But
for sure,
having someone like Matty join you guys, who, you know, you've obviously heard him and seen him, and we've seen a couple of clips of him. He's definitely doing the songs justice from what we can hear. But does it also give you a sense of excitement that he may bring something else to these songs? And obviously he's got like the extensive heavy vocals as well, that maybe it might, you know, allow you guys to dip your toes in some other, you know, ends of the spectrum.
Yeah, absolutely. Yeah. Not to give away too much, but I agree.
That notion. So
yeah, for sure. I mean, Steven, like we said, has such a unique voice, but there's only so much he can grit up. Even as heavy as we've been getting over the past few EPs, it's still Steven's voice over it, which has been a cool thing. But Matty does have the ability to kind of dirt things up, I think, a little in a different way than Steven can. So it kind of is expanding, even like we said, even expanding our options in sounds and even heaviness or whatever we can do. You know what I'm saying?
Exciting times,
Yeah,
man. I'm
for
super
sure.
excited, and I know Nate is as well. So heading to Australia soon as well. Finally getting you guys back again. That's
Hmm.
super exciting. I don't think I've missed you guys since you've been here. And
Yeah,
bringing Stephen along for this one, yeah?
correct. Yep.
Yeah.
Yep.
Uh,
Yeah.
are you allowed to say whether Matty will be joining you on the flight?
I am allowed. He can't make this run. I think we kind of debated, and even still, Steven's like trying to fill the gap where he can. Um,
Yeah.
I think initially, even from the onset, we had been in talks with the promoter in Australia long before Steven even had this conversation with me. So we knew we were trying to get over there earlier this year, or even it was supposed to be next December, but that ended up not working schedule wise. So we moved it to January, and it was after we'd already kind of confirmed these things with the Australian promoter that Steven was like, "Hey, I need to pull away." He's like, "But I can still do whatever I've committed to." So we brought it to the promoter, and we discussed it as a band, like what do we want to do. So I think as we've seen, we've made some posts about we're playing a couple more shows in the States with Steven here locally in Tampa, and then Australia is kind of his last thing for a minute. And it gets misconstrued because I see a lot of people being like, "This is Steven's last thing ever," and it's like, well, that's not really what we're saying. It was hard to really put a time limit on anything, so we were just kind of like, I don't know, it could be next year, it could be a couple of years, I'm not sure. I'm just letting it play out the way it's going to play out. But we're super jazzed. I mean, Australia's I joined the band. I wasn't an original member, but when I joined the band, I joined on the cities tour, and I was just filling in. They called me to fill in, and filling in on that tour. And then we really got to know each other really well. And they're talking about the future, everything that was going to happen after the cities tour. And they're like, "Oh, we're going to go here. We're going to go to Japan. We're going to go to Australia." And in my mind, I'm thinking, "Oh my God, that would be so awesome to go to Australia with these dudes." And it was on the cities tour. They were like, "Yo, you just want to be in the band." So I can attest that ever since, they first set foot, they'll talk about it, ad nauseum, that from the second they set foot in Australia, it was just like the second home. And it's felt that way ever since, truly. It was just the reception they got was just like, how do all these people know who we are from day one? So it's always just been, we always look forward to every opportunity we can get to come to Australia.
For sure. It's definitely something that gives me a sense of pride, being an Australian, is that the general consensus from touring artists is that they just love coming here. Yeah, it's a pain in the ass to get here, and it's a pain in the ass to get between shows. The travel's a nightmare. Logistically, we're not set out great. But just knowing that, Australia does give artists such a good reception for the most part, and makes them feel, like at home is such a great thing, because, we realize you guys are like super far from home. Like, we're on the other side of the world, man. It's a long way. Like,
Yeah.
this little island in the middle of nowhere. So how many times have you been here now, and do you have a favorite memory of Australia?
Oh boy. I don't know if I was keeping count, but it feels like since I joined the band, we would either go at least once or twice a year. So whether that was our own headline tour, there were multiple years where we came over and did like Soundwave,
Download,
and
yeah.
then came back and did it, like came back and did our own thing. So it was definitely helping with the frequent flyer miles for sure. So it's been a handful of times. I don't know if I have a favorite memory. I mean, every time's been pretty insane. All those Soundwave shows were great. Just the kind of caliber of bands they had. To be able to watch. The first one we did was like Nine Inch Nails was headlining.
Oh, yeah.
The second time we did it was like Iron Maiden was headlining, which was a big deal for me because that was like one of the reasons I picked up a guitar. So I remember seeing that flyer and sending it to one of my buddies I grew up with, and was like, "Yo, I'm touring with Iron Maiden," So that was a very memorable experience for sure.
Yeah.
But every time I come over, man, it's just like good times, good people. You know, we've got kind of the spots we like to go, and you know,
Yeah,
even
yeah, I was
now,
gonna
like
ask,
I'm talking. Yeah.
you have a favorite eating spots or coffee spots or drinking spots?
You know, in each city would be different. Pellegrini's is one that we love to go to. That's in Melbourne.
Melbourne,
It's
yeah.
just a small hole in the wall uh, Italian place where they'll like one of the tables is literally in the kitchen. It's freaking delicious. I'm not sure if it's still there, but it's been there forever. Um, Lord of the Fries. I know that's not like fine dining, but I'm a vegetarian, so it's always like
Yeah.
a spot for me to go and like gorge myself on uh, that kind of food. We used to love going to Cherry Bar. I don't know why, but it was just kind of a thing that we would do in
Okay.
Melbourne.
Yep.
You got Little Creatures is a sick brewery in like Fremantle, Perth. Um, where else do we go? Man,
Damn, you do know the place well.
I mean, we literally like myself, the bass, like everyone kind of makes a list of like, oh, hey, let's make sure we go to these spots every time we come back. You know, like, oh, let's
Yeah,
pop
okay.
in here and get some lunch or something, and go here for this, you know, for a cocktail here or whatever. So yeah,
Well, we're from Sydney, or just outside of Sydney, and Nath is quite well versed in top spots to visit and eat. So if you guys have a spare moment when you're in Sydney, we'll try and take you somewhere nice. We
yeah.
like to take bands out and show them some of our favorite eating places. It's good fun.
I went to a really nice dinner in Sydney. I can't remember where it is. And Dion, our bass player, who remembers everything from every tour. It's the weirdest thing. But one of the times I was over there with my other band, Acceptance, we went out to like a really kind of like fine dining experience. I believe it was in Sydney, and it was like top notch food, really great drinks. So I'm just like, it's lost. The name's lost on me right now. So
I'm sure that he'll be able to let you know. Um,
yeah,
So it's getting to the end of the year. All right. So look, we always like to finish off our chats with people with a few silly questions. But getting to the end of the year, the thing is, albums this year. Have you got a top release for this year?
oops, sorry.
Someone turn the lights off.
Power outage. Aha.
Top
Oh
release for
man.
2023. Because this is always one that stumps people. Because I feel like you're more focused on the recent ones and you forget the earlier ones.
Trying to think of something that's like really struck a chord in me this year. It's just been a crazy year too, so I'm probably just gonna brain fart at the moment. Just to I just had my second kid, so he's a month
Oh,
old.
congratulations.
Thank you, thank you. And sleep is a thing in theory right now in this household, so my
Yeah.
mind's not as sharp. My mind's not as sharp as it normally is, but yeah, I'm trying to think what came. It's so funny because the years blur together so quickly now that I'm
Yeah, they really do.
now that I'm ancient, and I'll be like, we'll have these conversations in my dude friend group. I'll be like, yeah, this is the best record of this year, and someone will be like, dude, that was last year, you know.
Yeah, that
So like
always
I lose
happens.
track. I'm like, no, that's not the case, and I have to like look it up and be like, oh, dang it.
Yeah, yeah,
You're
yeah.
right. That was released at the end of last year.
Yeah, look, I haven't even started looking. I'm
Oh
just
yeah, I'm
projecting
not
my
sure.
own confusion onto you because I haven't even started looking. It's just there's a whole bunch of albums that came out, and I'm just like, oh god, like I forgot about that one. There's albums that I was looking forward to that I completely missed. I didn't even listen to them. It's just
Yeah.
I feel like since COVID, we're in a period where people are so hungry for music, and people are so hungry to release music. Uh, I feel like I feel like the music world is probably more vibrant and fulfilling than ever now.
Oh yeah.
It's
Yeah.
great. It's great to see.
I agree with you 100%. Yeah, it's and just the accessibility and easiness of art, you know, the ability for artists to just record and release completely independently. You know what I mean? ANBERLIN
Yeah.
now is at a place where we basically do everything ourselves, other than distribute it, but we could if we truly wanted to. You know, I have another band that I do on the side, and it's like I do everything myself. I record it all in my garage here, in my studio, and I release it to, you know, all the all the streaming services myself. So it's
Yeah,
a really
great.
cool time that there's no longer real gatekeepers as far as, you know, how music gets distributed or recorded or any of that kind of stuff. You're a lot less limited than you
Yeah,
used to be.
yeah, not the restriction that there used to be. Okay, well, I got two final questions for you. Gun to your head, if you had to erase one album from ANBERLIN's catalog, what would it be?
Mhm.
You can't just cheat and say the ones you weren't a part of either.
No, I wish I was a part of those ones. The first record I was a part of, and it's probably my fault to be honest, it was New Surrender. And I would probably delete that one. And I think you would get the same answer from all of the dudes. And I don't know that it's interesting because that was our technically biggest record because that was the first one on a major. We re-released Feel Good Drag on that record, and it went #1 here in the States on alternative radio. So from an outside perspective, you go, why would you feel that way? But I think that was just a tough transition period for the band. We were transitioning from an independent label to a major label. There was a lot of different pressures, whether those were self-imposed or whether from feeling like from the label or whoever, to like maybe change the way we sounded or the way we wrote. And it was like a really tough record to make. And at the end of the day, you can even look at our set lists, right? Or even if you pay attention to any set list, it's like we don't play a ton of songs off that record. You know, we play Feel Good Drag, but that's technically off Never Take Friendship Personal. So
Yeah,
you know
true.
what I'm saying?
Yeah, interesting. And also, I got to say that The Resistance is one of my favorite ANBERLIN songs. That's
That's a
just,
good one too.
it's just an absolute kick-ass way to start an album. And I love the progression of the kick drum in the choruses as well. It's
Yeah,
one of my favorite things you
yeah,
guys have
yeah.
done.
More hits every time. Yeah,
That's
I
it.
mean, it only makes sense if you were a part of making it, I think, at the time. So it was just like a very tumultuous time, and I think it just left a bad taste in everyone's mouth. So even that we did all these live streams and we played basically every record on every live stream, we had to relearn, you know, all these songs or
Wow.
songs we never even learned to play, and we played that record, and on some of the songs we're like, oh, this is great, I would love to play these, but I think there was just like a bad vibe from the whole experience of it, you know.
Yeah, I think also like time passing and being able to revisit that in a new headspace and not in the actual situation would kind of give you a new appreciation for it as well.
For sure. Yeah.
Appreciation. All right. So, last question. We ask this to everyone that joins the channel. All right. You're about to go on stage. Okay. You're going to play your 2-hour headlining set. Stephen's last show. You got to go on stage wearing either cold, wet socks or cold, wet underwear. What do you choose and why?
I feel like cold wet underwear would be more distracting personally.
Okay.
I'm not sure. That's a great question though. I would like to choose I would like to choose C, neither.
Yeah, well, I mean, look, you know, it's not a democracy, so.
Yeah.
No,
Yeah, I don't
well,
know. I feel like cold, wet feet. I grew up in a very cold and wet state, Washington
okay.
State, so Seattle. And I feel like my feet were always cold and wet just because you're always in the rain. So I think I'm just like, but not necessarily my underwear were cold and wet. So I think I'm just kind of more acclimated to having cold, wet
Okay.
socks.
Yeah, fair enough. Yeah, I would
Yeah.
definitely have the underwear. I hate wet socks. It's just something I can't deal with. So it splits the channel because
Yeah.
Nathan's one, I'm the other, and we often get mixed responses. But anyway, dude, I got to let you
Yeah.
go. You've got a busy day ahead, I'm sure, busy night ahead.
Yeah.
Thanks so much for your time, man. Huge fan. Really, really looking forward to seeing you guys in Australia soon. We'll catch up then, and good luck with everything, and give our best to the boys, and good luck with Matty's first shows.
Thank you so much. We'll see you soon.
Peace. Thanks, man.
Bye.